Welcome to Constructive Conversations, Building Canada Stories. I'm your host, George Affleck. Thanks for joining me as we dig into the foundations of Canada's construction industry, learning from leaders and pioneers in the business. Today, I'm joined by Doug Doucet of RCS Construction Incorporated in Nova Scotia. With decades of experience in construction and having worked with flagship Canadian companies for many years, Doug knows the industry and has an Atlantic Canada perspective. Let's start the conversation now. Doug, thanks so much for joining me on Constructive Conversations. I want to find out more about RCS construction. So why don't you tell us, what you do and why you do it?
So I started RCS Construction 25 years ago, 1996, with two other partners. We moved back from Ontario and thought we'd start a business in Atlantic Canada doing some renovations for the grocery store business. And we quickly evolved, and our whole strategy as a business was customer service. And today that's our unique ability is customer service. We would have most all national tenant bases throughout Atlantic Canada. So we work for everybody from Canadian Tire, Shoppers Drug Mart, Sobeys, any kind of national retailer whatsoever. And that's kind of been our bread and butter, but it's evolved into everything, construction management, design build projects. We have construction management is a big one through COVID. It's been an issue where people want someone who's going to steer them through the most efficient passage. So we've been in Atlantic Canada. We got to be something to everybody, and that's kind of we don't have the luxury of the big cities where you can focus in one area. You've got to kind of really be good at it all. It's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, you're based in Nova Scotia, but you have clients. It seems like beyond your area, and that's surprising. How do you take on and compete with companies that are bigger or maybe more solidified in other markets?
It's a good question. We have no issue competing because, again, our open shop environment, we're one of the largest non-union companies in Atlantic Canada. So we've built a culture of really solid foundation when it comes to people. I'm really proud of how we engage people. So I have site supers and staff that have been here since day one, a number of them, and our turnover is very, very low. So I think when we compete against the big nationals and we come up against on a big project, I mean, that's a huge, that's a huge bonus for us to have that in our back pocket and be able to go there. Now, when I say we compete, our biggest project to date would be a $25 million project. So we're mostly in the $5 to $10 million range, and we have no problem competing with. Matter of fact, I'd say we have a huge edge over our competitors in that range of project.
What would you say is your bread and butter clients, the ones that you rely on most regularly to bring in the business, to keep your cash flow going, and perhaps what you're best known for?
What RCS stood for at the beginning, Retail Construction Specialists. I worked for the grocery chain A&P for 9 years in Ontario before I moved home. So we literally started the company 25 years ago as a retail constructor, someone that understood how to work around our clients. So when you went into a grocery store under construction, if you didn't understand what was important to Sobeys or Loblaws, then you were never going to get it. If you just thought it was another construction project, you would fail. So they would hire our competition and they didn't get that. We built our company around that. And then our clients said, hey, we don't just want to renovate grocery stores anymore. Maybe we can build one. And then we started to build one. And then our other clients said, hey, would you build for us? And we became a base builder. And then we became a construction manager. And today, construction management and design build are huge for us, huge opportunities.
Is that your ideal client? Is that who you really, really want to keep expanding on and get known for?
I'm afraid to answer that question because I'm going to piss off some other clients who think they're, we've got a client, for example, one of our best clients is Glenn Monroe with a North American group, and they're based out of Montreal, and they built a power center here called Dartmouth Crossing in Halifax. And I introduced myself to Glenn 15 years ago, and we've built every building on the site for him ever since. So he's up to $1.4 billion feet of space, retail space, and all the projects that he did, we did for him. So that's an amazing relationship that we can get. That client relationship is one of our unique abilities that we can maintain. Me personally, I'm about relationships. I live my life for relationships with clients. So when you can build and gain the trust of a client that hires you repeatedly for 15 years, that's a strength. And we have quite a few of them.
that's when you're talking about customer service. That's definitely what
Yes,
it is. I mean, obviously you got to do good work, but if you don't have that relationship and that customer service, then yeah, they'll start looking elsewhere. But
100%.
relationships are one thing. Is there another way you bring in clients as far as marketing, and how do you keep a good flow of customers? And sometimes those smaller projects are the bread and butter, and they are the ones who keep the lights on, especially in the last year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I'm not going to, it's a funny thing. I can't tell you. We sit in the office here and we could have as many as 12 projects walk through the door that we don't even see coming. Like they're just coming because of the past relationships. So in the first 10 years of business, that was me and my partners knocking on doors, making ourselves. But once you do a great project for somebody, then it just continues. In this business, people are very loyal, and if it's just getting on a bid list, if you've proven success and you've made a client happy, you're going to get on every bid list until you screw it up. And when you screw it up, then you got to go back and pick up the pieces. But I always say we're going to drop the ball at some point in time. It's all about how fast you pick it up and how do you resolve. This is a crazy industry, as you know, and you're going to mess up. There's too many moving pieces for it not to go perfect all the time. But when you do, how fast can you turn it around? And that's what I think matters to clients.
How is that client? You kind of touched on the top, but how is your client base evolving and changing? I mean, you started out, you kind of have everybody, but how is it evolving? And especially in the last year and the last few years where things seem to be changing overall.
I think as you get, I'm a huge networker. I'm a huge relationship guy. So I'm out 4 or 5 nights a week with clients, and I'm in the industry and I'm in the community. I'm a big community guy. I've been on a number of boards with the hospitals and the universities. And so, I mean, every time you put your fingers out there, if you're a good person and you can, bring results, you're going to get the opportunity. So we just keep feeding off kind of Doug's network and his ability to get in front of people. And then I rely on my team to make it happen. And I have an extraordinary team. I don't spend much time in the construction business anymore. I've opened up 12 businesses probably in the last 5 or 6 years, and we're in the hotel business. We're in the restaurant business. I just bought a golf course. We just bought the Truro Shopping Center, shopping mall. We've closed on probably 6 properties since COVID hit. So it's a funny thing because as when you deal in the construction industry, over the last 25 years, I deal with my clients and you're dealing with the VP of construction. Well, it's usually the VP of construction and real estate. So when I kind of diverted off into the real estate side so I could feed some business to our construction team, well, then it was just a natural fit. The people I'm dealing with at the top level is the same guy on the real estate side. So all of a sudden, oh, you're in the real estate biz? Hey, we need a store in this region. So now I can go out and be the landlord and I can put a deal together, finance it, and then hire RCS, construction company. So I become one of my best clients over the last 5 years.
Smart move.
With vertical integration.
That kind of scalability and that kind of ability to trust your staff and not have to be in the business all the time is a testament to your systems and procedures. I mean, you must have solid processes for how you do things.
Yeah, that's a great question because that's changed our, for the first, I want to say 15 years of business, we were somewhat of a small to a medium-sized business, and you could still keep your fingers on the pulse. You could still touch everything. And I think what happens to a lot of businesses to go to the next level, you hit what they call the growth wall. We call it the growth wall. We went from, 2 million in business to 5 million to 8 million to 10 to 12. We got up to 55, 60 million, and we were stuck there for 5 years. And I mean, this is a true life-changing moment for RCS. But I had a client who we built 8 restaurants for in Halifax, and she said, "Doug, you have to read the book Traction." And
yes.
You know it? So I said, "Stephanie, I'm not reading no book. I don't read. I got ADHD. I start reading a page, and by the time I get to the end, I'm building things, and my mind is." I said, "I can't read a book." And she called me back 3 months later. She said, "Did you read it?" I said, "I'm going on vacation next week, and I promised to read the book." And ironically, I started reading this book, and I'm like, oh my God, this book is like talking to me. And what was really interesting was I was getting giddy about the book described how you run your business, I'm like, I'm doing 75% of this. Like I did it right. But the book gave me the 25% to get me over the growth wall. So when I came back from Florida, we literally let go of 7 people from the office because the book just ingrained, like, if you're talking about somebody for a second time, a third time, they don't belong in your organization, or they need another seat. Or so we just realized very, very quickly we had to change up major changes to our leadership team. And guess what? 2 years later, 75 million. 2 years later, 100 million. This year, projecting 130 million. And you can't make this shit up. It's like, it's the real McCoy. It's been exciting.
It's tough though. You said you're ADHD entrepreneur, and that's quite common, and focusing, coming with systems is counterintuitive to people with ADHD. So you must have had a good team to sort of delegate that to, I'm thinking.
Well, in the early years, and I won't take credit from my partner who's no longer with me. I bought out my 2 partners from the original start. But my partner was an engineer, a civil engineer. He was polar opposite to me. And my third partner was, you could sway him. So I had to fight to get what I want, and I had to get in the boardroom, and we would have 2 out of 3 wins. So I couldn't get the engineer. He would be black, I would be white. So I had to manipulate the third party to get what I want. But I had to pick and choose what hill to die on, because, I couldn't win and fight that battle every day. So, and ironically, when there's a dividend check every quarter, like, you can afford to just lose some battles and say, I'll, pick and choose. But
Sure.
It wasn't until year 13 that we lost money for the first time that, the fighting started to begin, and now all of a sudden it's hard to win things over. I said, it's easy to run a business when you're making money. It's when you're not making money that it's tough to run a business. But process came from, and truly and honestly, the process came from traction in our, EOS, our entrepreneurial operating system. It put things in place that just helped us get everybody going in the same direction, and it's been powerful. It's been very, very good.
That's a huge recommendation for that book. I've read it too. It's a great book, and a couple of follow-ups of that book as well. But you mentioned people and your partners, but people in general, your staff, and your website really talks a lot about your team and how important they are, and the industry in general, right across the country. And when I'm speaking to a lot of CEOs across the country, and staffing and getting the people to do the work is one of the biggest challenges right across the country. How do you do that? How do you build a culture to keep staff and find staff and keep the lights on, keep things being built?
Again, a great question. Pre-COVID, we had a system down that worked. I mean, I truly care about I care about my clients to no avail. I'm like the guy, the never say no. I actually get my staff give me a hard time because if I think one of my staff said once, if a client wants to build a ship, guess what? We're shipbuilders, because Doug's going to make it happen. And I'm guilty of probably overdoing it to some extent, because when a client gives us an opportunity to do something for them, I'm going to find a way to do it. But likewise, I'm equally adamant that if our suppliers and our staff aren't happy people, it's just not going to work unless everybody's going in the same direction. So culture at RCS is of the utmost importance. Pre-COVID, we've got our beer Fridays where everybody has a beer down in the lunchroom, and you have your lunches you bring in, and you take, this week we're going to go out for the first time. We're going to the Palladium. We take all the office and we'll spend an afternoon at the Palladium, and it's having fun. There's no secret to it. It's just truly having fun and caring about people. But if you don't hire the right people, it's hard to get that going. It starts, and again, I'm going to go back to traction. It starts with hiring the right people with your core values, that believe in your core values, and they're like-minded people. I'm a very positive person. I love energy, and I hire people with positive energy. And, we see it so often, assholes tend to hire assholes. I hate to say that, but, it's a simple formula. There's no real, it's not complicated. Hire good people. We'll tend to favor good people in our core values, and our core values are ACT, accountability, communication, and teamwork. And you know what? If you don't believe in that, I don't care how smart you are, you're not going to win on this team, because we have to care about each other. And sincere empathy they're 2 big words in my book in this game. If you're not sincere and you don't share empathy all around for our suppliers, it's every bit as important for our suppliers too, to feel that we care about them. Sometimes they get lost in the mix, right? People don't care about their suppliers. But
Yeah,
substance
you
suppliers are
can't
huge.
fake that either. You
You
can't
can't
fake
fake it.
sincerity. People catch on that pretty quick. I want to pivot to the industry and what your thoughts are in the industry, and what are some of the biggest challenges in the industry facing right now.
So obviously, COVID has been a huge. But our industry, I mean, God love our industry, has changed so quickly. 3 weeks in for COVID, I mean, everybody was worried. People worried about their jobs. We immediately laid off 20%, just assuming the world would
Right,
come to an end.
freaking out, just like we gotta
Yeah,
do this.
got to do something. We got to be prepared. We got to
Yeah.
protect as many people as we can. And we thought that, but within 30 days, we had it figured out. We had a committee that met every single day. We had job site committees. We quickly adapted to the Zoom meetings, hosting our meetings. I kind of want to say that running projects is a little more efficient now than it's ever been, because
Yeah, sure.
we do a design build project and we pull things up on the screen and the whole design, and we get more attendance from our architects or designers or sub trades, because it's easier for them to join a meeting. They
And
can be
you
on
can
the
record
road,
it.
and you can record it. And we're design building a hotel for my company right now. And I mean, we get up there and, I have my ideas and I'm drawing them on the screen, and the architect's drawing and he's saving the drawings. And it's really efficient, so it's kind of in a fun space. And as far as I'm concerned, in our industry, we're way behind the times from a technological standout. We've not adapted as quick as manufacturing or other industries. And this has really catapulted us to a place where we needed to be. So I think it's fun. It's been fun for sure.
Can something be done about that? I mean, from an industry point of view, like is it just when you compare it to manufacturing and what can be done to fix that?
I think personally, and there'd be some people that would probably call me out of this, but I think the sub trades. We need sophisticated general contractors that can bring their sub trades and help them be more sophisticated. We still have fax machines in our office because HRM still sometimes only accepts a bid. Our municipality accepts a bid by fax. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that is so far behind the times. So we need everybody around to change, and it has to start with the leadership, which I think is our clients have to demand more. Safety was never taken seriously enough in the industry till our clients demanded it. So when our clients demand that you're technologically advanced, then you will, because you have to. And then we have to push our subs to drag them along. So I think there's an opportunity in our industry for people to sit down with our sub trades and suppliers and ramp up the sophistication, so that and that's, you asked the question, what are the opportunities? I mean, digital platforms is a huge opportunity right now. What's the biggest single change in your life is this phone. And what is it? It's a digital platform. It allowed us to put so much information on one device. Right now, I think what we need is, accounting, estimating software, project management software, scheduling, filing, all on one digital platform. We constantly find ourselves trying to go and find a supplier that, oh yeah, he can do this really well, but he can't do this. And this guy can do this really well. We need all-in-one encompassing digital platform for the industry. And that's a huge opportunity for someone.
Interesting. We'll put that out there. You talk about 4 pillars. Is that related to that?
Yeah. So it's funny because when COVID hit, of course, my first inclination is we've got to protect the team. We've taken us 25 years to get this amazing group of people. We got to protect the team. So I'm transitioning in my mind, what's going to happen. We're going into global recession. So the first thing I did was I started to get my fingers out on the real estate side to see what could be happening. Could I generate some real estate plays that would just automatically create a construction play for the company? And so I'm out working 7 days a week, working harder than I ever have. And I'm trying to create opportunities. Well, then 2 months in, things are starting to go back to normal. And our industry kind of then started to take off a little bit through COVID.
Surprising everyone, I think, across this country, around the world.
And still the same.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, these real estate plays started to take off. And as I mentioned earlier, we closed on a half a dozen deals. So we're building, a couple of new hotels. We're building some new strip malls. We're doing $10 million worth of work at the new mall we bought. So all of a sudden, construction's still getting busier. Now Doug's getting busier, and we've never been busier as a company in the last 25 years. So it's a bit of an anomaly. But what people underestimate, I think is I'm usually 14 weeks in Florida for the winter. Well, now I was 14 weeks extra time just in the last year. In the last year, I've had an extra 14 weeks. I was working, 8, 10 hour days. Now I'm working 10, 12 hour days. You accumulate all that extra work and it equates to opportunity. I'm the harder you work, the luckier you get kind of guy.
Yeah, I get it. I get that one. Is there one thing or project that you're really most proud of that you've done over the years, and that that you or your team have been involved in? You're like, we did that. We did that.
There's so many of them, and they'd be so diversified. I mean, we just finished off $25 million worth of work at the Avalon Mall, which was extraordinary. One of the busiest operational malls in the country. I think it ranks number 3 behind Yorkdale and a second as the most number of people running through a space. That was an extraordinary project. Working nights and days and weekends around public, and we always get excited working around public. Like, we find the other contractors really fumble, and we're really good at it. And we started, as our humble beginnings were live renos, so your kind of team develops that way. So they're really good at it. So I think and simple things like no cursing, no smoking, no how you act around a live environment. Some companies really struggle with that, and we've been really, really good with it. And so I think that was a neat one. One of the coolest projects we ever did, which wasn't financially not a success, but I think I look back and say, wow, we did that. There was a farmers market here in Halifax, right on the waterfront. It was an old 150-year-old pre-eng building, and it was going to be the first LEED Platinum job in Atlantic Canada. And there were 5 national general contractors, your PCLs and your Elistons, and there were 5, and we were like, this is a perfect job for us. And the team said, Doug, you should go try to fight your way on the bid list. And we did, and we had to get pre-approved, and we pulled it off. I was incredibly proud of our team to be able to say, hey, RCS now is involved with these 5 nationals. And at the end of the day, we won the bid, and it was a $14 million project. It was the biggest project we ever did at that time. It's probably back 10 years ago. Took a few years off my life.
I was going to say, yes. I was like,
incredibly daunting.
What have I done?
We had a, it was I won't get into the particulars, but it was a lot of things that were, at the end of the day, they didn't have the budget for the project that they wanted to build. So it became a tough project to deal with, but we learned a lot. And, what I think most recently, we just were pre-qualified with Spanish P3, a company called Cesir, based out of Spain. And they approached us and to build a $250 million new mental health facility in St. John's, Newfoundland. And they said, we're from Spain. This is all we do. Big company, 30,000 employees. All they do is P3 around the world. And they said, like, we've got the firepower, we've got the horsepower, we've got the ability to, but we need a front man. We need someone that's local in St. John's. We know you have an office there. So we went head to head against, I think there were 3 or 4 other bidders. And they were all partnerships. It was too big a project for any one single general to take on. So they were all P3 partnerships. And we got it pre-approved to get in the final 3. And then we came second in on the bid. And we were the low bidder in dollar value. We had the fastest construction time, but at the end of the day, we lost out, came second. But what a great opportunity for our team to be involved just to work with such a great company like Cesir and learn so much. So I it was a loss, but it was a win for us.
Interesting. Because going through that process, no matter what, RFPs are the worst to most companies, but and bidding, and you're like, what's the real game going on behind the scenes that I don't understand, and so I can get my head around this. But so even if you get to that process and you had a true fighting chance, it's inspiring for sure.
Yes, and that team was really proud to be a part of it, because they, my CFO was like, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this. It's, we're outside our comfort zone, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, there's probably a good chance, but let's learn something. Let's take it. Let's just own this. And the team really did own it and did a fantastic job.
You never actually answered my question about the 4 pillars. I don't know. Can you clarify what these 4 pillars are?
So through COVID, I've had many hours sitting behind my desk on a Sunday, and I got the inspiration. I said, there's 4 things that are incredibly important to me all of a sudden that weren't important pre-COVID. And I there's the digital platform that I talked about previously in the conversation. Like, digital platforms are the biggest opportunity, single biggest opportunity And COVID has proven that just by the way we've used digital technology through the last 18 months. Mental wellness. I'm sick of talking about mental health because I hate the name. I think it's I don't think people want to be associated with mental health, but I think mental wellness, spending more time on. I got re-engaged with an old colleague slash business owner that I worked for when I came here before I started my company, and he speaks around North America about mental wellness. And he told me, he said, Doug, we haven't talked in 25 years. He said, Doug, do you know I struggled every day with my mental health issues? I said, John, you were a mentor. You were the most sophisticated guy I knew, dressed well, good looking guy, confidence, exuded confidence. He said, Doug, I had a hard time getting through the day. He said, where I ended up leaving the family business, lost it. I took a year and a half off work, and I wrote a book about my mental health issues, which helped me get through it. I got off the medicine. But here's a guy that I thought was the most confident guy in the world that couldn't get through a day barely without mental health issues. And his book talks about the loss that we, in all our businesses, through mental health, because we don't, for every 3 people that we see some serious issues and get by, there's 3 more that you don't see. So that was an eye-opener to me. And so we've just recently started a new mental wellness program. We talk about it on social media. We make sure we provide stuff for our employees. We send out a little, internal memo on social on mental wellness every week. The third one is diversification. And I say diversification in every aspect. Diversification when it comes to employees and staff. And, we love females in the industry. I would say in our office space, we're getting close to 50% of our 60 office here at the head office. There's probably half are ladies. We've got carpenters on staff, probably 6 or 7 now, that are phenomenal at what they do. They're well organized. And so diversification in every field. I mean, we're getting more and more transient workers coming here. We're getting, but I also say diversification in projects. If you're not, COVID taught us that you better diversify. If you stick in one area and something goes south, you're going to be in trouble. So diversification. And the last one was engagement. We were one of the most engaged companies, in my opinion. Culture engagement was amazing. But what does that look like post-COVID? How do we continue to engage people? Because you know what, there's a new thing. The people are working from home more. It's really hard to engage somebody in a Zoom state of the company address. And we just did a state of the company address, and I couldn't get people to engage because I've got 150 people on the screen, and you're trying to get people. Nobody wants to be the guy that steps up and talks. So we got to. The next Zoom we did breakout sessions, and we came up with questions, and we got people more engaged. But how do we engage people post-COVID? It's a big deal, I think, in our industry and all industries. So
yeah, I think you're seeing this transition. No, I think you're seeing this transition of employment, and people spend a lot of time thinking about their lives and this mass exodus of senior people that we're seeing now. So it's definitely a challenge to deal with, and it's interesting that you've got this structure built for that. So that's really interesting. On that note, Doug, I'm going to say thanks very much for joining me today on Constructive Conversations.
No, it was a pleasure. I'm glad I could help.
Thanks.
Really enjoyed it.
Cool. I'm George Affleck. Thanks for joining me at Constructive Conversations, Building Canada Stories, where we dig into the foundations of Canada's construction industry, learning from leaders and pioneers in the business.